The Dharma wheel was not large, only about an inch in diameter. It appeared plain and unremarkable, lacking any luster or spiritual energy, and in some places, there were even signs of rust. Wang Lin's attention was drawn to this item because Su Ligua had previously mentioned that a soul was sealed within it, pleading desperately for him to release the soul. This statement by Su Ligua had raised Wang Lin's suspicions. His understanding of Su Ligua was profound, as in some ways, Su Ligua was a creation of his own making. Su Ligua had a liveliness that was lacking in wandering souls, and this liveliness was deeply connected to his transformation from a nascent soul into a demonic entity. Over time, Su Ligua's intelligence gradually recovered, eventually forming into the demonic sword soul he was now. Su Ligua's personality was cowardly and risk-averse, but at times, he could be rebellious. Combined, he was a complex figure. That he would beg Wang Lin so persistently to release the soul within the Dharma wheel puzzled Wang Lin. Interesting. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. With his intellect, after a moment's contemplation, he pieced together much of the situation. The ancestor of the giant demon clan must have used the soul within the Dharma wheel to tempt Su Ligua, which was why, even after returning to his side, Su Ligua couldn't let go of it. Wang Lin glanced at the Dharma wheel, then pulled out his immortal sword from his storage pouch. As the sword appeared, dark mist immediately surged from it, taking the form of Su Ligua. The moment Su Ligua materialized, he cried out, his eyes flashing with intense light as he stared at the Dharma wheel. "Master, this is the Dharma wheel. There's a soul inside it. Please release her," Su Ligua urged anxiously. Wang Lin remained calm, speaking slowly. "How do you know the soul inside the Dharma wheel?" "It was summoned by the ancestor of the giant demon clan." "Master, please release her." Su Ligua's face was filled with urgency. Wang Lin looked at him and asked, "What cultivation level does this soul possess?" Su Ligua's urgency grew even stronger. He could vaguely hear the voice of the young female soul inside the Dharma wheel calling to him, urging him to rescue her. Growing impatient, he replied, "It's just a wisp of a soul, with no cultivation. If you won't release her, I'll do it myself." Su Ligua didn't even realize that, upon appearing and seeing the Dharma wheel, he had momentarily forgotten his fear of Wang Lin. His tone even subtly shifted. Wang Lin's gaze flashed imperceptibly, and he smiled, "Don't worry, I'll release the soul for you." With that, Wang Lin formed a hand seal and sent a beam of spiritual light toward the Dharma wheel. However, at that moment, a flash of green light appeared, immediately neutralizing the spiritual light Wang Lin had sent. Wang Lin lightly murmured in surprise and scrutinized the Dharma wheel carefully. It had appeared unremarkable before, but now it was emitting green light, which countered his spiritual energy. This caught his attention. When the green light flashed, Wang Lin hadn't detected any spiritual fluctuations on the Dharma wheel, so he observed it for a while longer. Then, with a flick of his right hand, he sent another beam of spiritual light toward it. His eyes remained fixed on the wheel as, suddenly, a strange symbol, no larger than the tip of a fingernail, appeared on the Dharma wheel. The symbol flashed rapidly before vanishing, and at the same time, the green light reappeared, neutralizing the spiritual energy. Interesting. Wang Lin's eyes brightened. Su Ligua, meanwhile, had become utterly impatient. Without a word, he flickered and lunged towards the Dharma wheel. Wang Lin fixed his gaze on Su Ligua, a cold glint appearing in his eyes. Su Ligua's actions were too strange. There was something off about them. The moment Su Ligua leaped toward the Dharma wheel, the symbol on the wheel flashed again. Immediately, the green light appeared and struck Su Ligua, sending him flying back a full yard. His eyes turned bloodshot, and he let out an enraged roar, about to charge again. Wang Lin raised his right hand and pointed at the air, instantly trapping Su Ligua in midair. Su Ligua turned abruptly, glaring at Wang Lin. "What are you doing? Let me go. I need to release her," he shouted. Wang Lin coldly swept a glance at Su Ligua, causing him to tremble. A moment of clarity flashed in his eyes, and he looked fearfully at the Dharma wheel, hastily adding, "Master, this isn't my fault. As soon as I saw the Dharma wheel, it was like I couldn't control myself." Wang Lin ignored Su Ligua, instead reaching out with his right hand to grasp the Dharma wheel. With his left thumb, he pressed down on the location where the flashing symbol appeared. At that moment, the symbol flared up and began to flicker violently. A massive surge of green light erupted. Wang Lin grunted and resolutely pressed down with his thumb, breaking through the green light with force, and drove it into the Dharma wheel. A series of cracking sounds rang out, and numerous fissures appeared across the Dharma wheel. These cracks spread rapidly, covering the entire wheel, and with a sharp crack, it shattered. In an instant, a blinding red light shot out from within the shattered wheel, accompanied by a sound like a silver bell. It was a laughter filled with unfathomable demonic power, a sound that could stir the soul. The sound was filled with a strange power, and the spiritual light that imprisoned Su Ligua vanished as quickly as snow melting under the scorching sun. In the blink of an eye, Su Ligua regained his freedom. His eyes gleamed with desire as he swiftly flew toward the crimson glow. In a flash, the crimson glow transformed into a captivating woman. She wore nothing more than a thin veil, revealing a large expanse of smooth skin. She glanced at Su Ligua and, with a sweet giggle, said, "Su brother, I've been waiting for you for so long. Why did it take you so long to rescue me?" As she spoke, she raised her delicate fingers and pointed at Su Ligua, her expression almost playful, like a lover teasing. Wang Lin's eyes flashed coldly. When the woman first appeared, his mind was shaken, but fortunately he had cultivated the soul-locking art and his mind was connected to the billion soul banner. He quickly regained his composure. But even so, he was deeply alarmed. After all, if such a momentary lapse had occurred during a battle, the consequences would have been disastrous. "How dare you use such demonic methods in front of me?" Wang Lin snorted coldly. His voice erupted like a roaring thunder, resonating in Su Ligua and the woman's ears, reverberating like a spring thunderclap. Su Ligua trembled and immediately regained clarity in his eyes. As a demon, Wang Lin's 2 wake-up calls jolted him back to his senses, filling him with a deep sense of shock. Reacting instinctively, he quickly retreated. The woman turned and glared at Wang Lin. A mischievous smile spread across her face, and in that instant, it seemed as though all the light around them vanished, leaving only her smile. "Such a cruel person. I haven't offended you," she murmured softly, her eyelashes fluttering in a mock expression of grievance. Her voice carried a strange power, and once again, Wang Lin's mind was shaken. As for Su Ligua, his clarity immediately faded, replaced once again with a look of desire. The woman smiled triumphantly, moving swiftly. With a wave of her right hand, she shot toward Wang Lin, her hand aimed at his forehead. But just as she did, Wang Lin's eyes gleamed with clarity, and beneath that clarity, there was a hint of disdain. The woman gasped, realizing something was wrong. She was about to retreat when Wang Lin's right hand flicked, and the soul banner appeared. With a shake, Li Yuanfeng, the infant metamorphosis soul, materialized, accompanied by thousands of souls, roaring as they surged toward her. The woman screamed again and retreated without hesitation. Li Yuanfeng's soul surged forward, and with the other attached souls, they surrounded the woman, ready to devour her. But the woman's eyes flashed with a strange light. With a seductive smile, she softly said, "Brothers, why are you doing this? We're not enemies, are we?" Her voice sent a shock through Li Yuanfeng's soul. He looked momentarily confused, and the other souls around them halted, staring blankly at her. "He's bullying me. Help me kill him, won't you? After you kill him, I'll make sure to treat you well." The woman's face flushed slightly as she spoke. At her words, Li Yuanfeng's soul trembled and immediately turned, followed by the other souls as they charged fiercely toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin remained unfazed, not even glancing at the attacking souls. Instead, he pointed behind him with his right hand. Su Ligua screamed in pain as he, too, had been influenced by the woman's allure. He was about to launch a sneak attack when Wang Lin's gesture struck him. He immediately suffered injuries, black energy dispersing from his body, and he retreated rapidly. Clarity returned to Su Ligua's eyes, but this time, it was the deep-rooted fear and terror he felt for Wang Lin that overcame the woman's enchantment. He cursed inwardly, realizing how foolish he had been to attack the Calamity Bringer. His previous achievement of slaying the giant demon clan's ancestor now seemed all but meaningless. "Vile woman, you're the one who bewitched me." Su Ligua growled angrily, pointing at the woman. The woman looked mournfully at him, about to speak, when Li Yuanfeng's soul and the others pounced once more. Wang Lin's right hand flicked again, and those souls immediately cried out in agony. Including Li Yuanfeng's soul, they scattered apart. "Enough. Come here." Wang Lin grabbed the air, and the woman screamed in surprise. She tried to dodge, but her body seemed to be caught by an invisible hand, pulling her toward Wang Lin. After a few moments of careful inspection, Wang Lin gradually discerned the truth. This woman's soul contained an aura of intent, an intent so strong it could enchant anything in the world. A soul with intent. Interesting. Wang Lin's eyes flashed coldly. "What's your name?" he asked. The woman struggled for a moment, breathing heavily as she glared at Wang Lin. "I haven't offended you. Why are you holding me like this?" Her breath carried a strange, seductive charm. Wang Lin shot her a cold glance, then tapped his right hand on her forehead. Immediately, the woman's face contorted with pain, and she let out a piercing scream as black smoke emanated from her body, as if she could vanish at any moment. Meiji, my name is Meiji, the woman quickly said, her gaze towards Wang Lin filled with fear. Since the seal, she had been looking for a chance to escape. When she met Su Ligua, she easily seduced him, and sure enough, he worked hard to rescue her. However, she never expected that someone like the man before her existed in this world. Not only did all her allure have no effect on him, but he even had the heart to harm her. What is the nature of the conceptual realm within your body? Wang Lin said coldly. The reason he was immune to her charms was due to his life experiences and his practice of the soul-locking art. In his 500 years of cultivation, Wang Lin had never been swayed by women. His mental fortitude was far beyond that of the giant demon clan ancestor. At the same time, the soul-locking art, as the ultimate technique of the soul-refining sect, not only allowed him to control the soul banner but also had a unique function, immunity to all evil. Because of this, he could control 1 billion souls without worrying about backlash. The woman looked at Wang Lin in fear, no longer daring to use her conceptual realm. She whispered, I don't know why, but when I woke up, this conceptual realm just appeared inside me. Wang Lin pondered for a moment. To him, this woman's cultivation was only at the core formation stage, but the conceptual realm inside her could even seduce a cultivator at the infant metamorphosis stage like Li Yuanfeng. This was truly strange. This woman is likely the fragment of a senior's primordial spirit that split apart, forming a remnant soul with such a powerful conceptual realm. It seems to be related to seduction and desire. Wang Lin's eyes flickered as he formed a seal with his right hand and placed a seal on her. With a tremor of the soul banner, she was absorbed into it. Su Ligua quickly showed a flattering smile and cautiously said, Master, if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave now. With that, he turned into a wisp of black smoke and immediately entered the immortal sword, too scared to come out. Wang Lin chuckled and paid Su Ligua no more attention. He took a deep breath, slapped his storage pouch, and the immortal jade pagoda flew out, landing in the nearby open space, growing larger in the blink of an eye. A wisp of divine sense from Zhao Ru immediately spread out, covering 100 miles. As soon as the pagoda appeared, Zhao Ru rushed out from inside, pouting upon seeing Wang Lin. She immediately said, Bad uncle, you're a bad uncle. I don't like you anymore. Little White, with its head drooping, followed behind Zhao Ru. When it appeared, it immediately lay down on the ground. Though its fur covered its whole body, describing it as emaciated would not be an exaggeration. I, the mighty tiger spirit, never imagined that for the past few months, I've been eating fruits every day, and I can't even get full, only one per day, without a hint of meat. How pitiful. Little White weakly growled, its tiger eyes almost shedding tears. Several times, it had almost lost control and eaten Zhao Ru, but the thought of how Wang Lin would deal with it afterward made it immediately abandon the idea. The most important thing, though, was that over time, it had sharply noticed a terrifying power growing within Zhao Ru. It was worried that before it could even eat her, the little girl might end up using it for food. Bad uncle, look at how skinny Little White has gotten. We've been eating fruits for months now. Zhao Ru glared at Wang Lin in great dissatisfaction. In fact, not just Little White, but even she had lost weight. Wang Lin rubbed his nose. He had indeed forgotten this point. After all, it had been over 400 years since he had eaten any mortal food, so he hadn't remembered Zhao Ru needed to eat. Fortunately, when he had sent Zhao Ru inside earlier, he had taken a lot of fruits for her as snacks. Additionally, the immortal jade pagoda, filled with immortal energy, could act as a sort of fasting effect as long as she didn't actively absorb it, allowing her body to be nourished slowly. A bead of sweat appeared on Wang Lin's forehead. He had never felt this embarrassed with any infant metamorphosis experts. Hearing Zhao Ru's words, he could only smile wryly. That was my oversight. I won't forget next time. Wang Lin quickly promised. Zhao Ru gave Wang Lin a sidelong glance, pouting, and said, Uncle's promises never count. You promised to give me a big tiger last time, but nothing came of it. You're promising again now, but I don't believe it. Wang Lin smiled bitterly and said, All right, Zhao Ru, I'll take you to catch a big tiger. I remember there should be some demonic beasts around here. Being a child at heart, Zhao Ru immediately smiled brightly upon hearing this, clapping her hands and saying, Uncle, you'd better keep your word. Let's go now. Wang Lin's eyes softened, and he gently patted Zhao Ru's head with a smile, saying, "Let's go now." Zhao Ru immediately nodded, then paused before saying, "Uncle, I don't know why, but these past days, I've been having dreams every night. In those dreams, I always see a big sister with you. She looks very familiar. It's strange." Wang Lin's heart and mind jolted. He looked down at Zhao Ru, and, after a moment of contemplation, sighed deeply. He looked up at the sky and muttered, "Xun'er, just 6 more years, and you will awaken completely." Zhao Ru gazed at Wang Lin, and a subtle, almost imperceptible trace of fear appeared in her eyes. "Uncle, Xun'er is a monster." Zhao Ru whispered. Xiaobai, lying nearby, heard this and immediately nodded several times, thinking to herself, "Indeed, she is a monster. Otherwise, how could I, the great tiger spirit, be bullied by this little girl? It even forced me to leave the mountains and give up my beautiful tigresses." Sigh. Wang Lin was stunned. He lowered his head and gently stroked Zhao Ru's hair, softly asking, "Xun'er, what's wrong?" Tears rolled down Zhao Ru's cheeks as she cried, "Xun'er is a monster, uncle. Xun'er is a monster. Actually, a year ago, I could feel there was a little person inside me. Uncle, I'm scared." Wang Lin stared at Zhao Ru for a long while, unable to speak. After a while, he gently touched her head and whispered, "Xun'er is not a monster. She's not." Zhao Ru collapsed into Wang Lin's arms, clutching his clothes tightly, saying, "Uncle, I can feel the little person inside me moving when I dream. It's like the sister in my dream is that little person. Uncle, Xun'er is scared. Can you take her out?" Her small hands gripped Wang Lin's clothes as though if she let go, he would disappear. She was terrified, and could only cling to him like this to feel safe. Wang Lin's body trembled, as if struck by an electric shock. "Why is this happening?" Wang Lin murmured, his eyes filled with complex emotions. Years ago, he had placed Li Muan's nascent soul into the pregnant woman's body. It was an unconventional form of soul seizing, though the baby inside the woman had yet to form a soul, merely a mass of essence blood. Logically speaking, Li Muan was Zhao Ru, and Zhao Ru was Li Muan. But now, why was Zhao Ru rejecting Li Muan? Could it be that when Li Muan's nascent soul entered the pregnant woman's body, the baby already developed a soul? Wang Lin's body shook as he recalled that at the time, he had been engaged in a struggle with the Tao of Heaven and had not examined the situation in detail. If that's true, Li Muan's nascent soul will gradually consume Zhao Ru's soul over time, and when it awakens, it will completely replace Zhao Ru, becoming the master of this body. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a sense of confusion. "Uncle, Xun'er is scared. Can you take her out?" Zhao Ru lifted her head, tears in her eyes, speaking softly. "Did I do something wrong?" Wang Lin looked at Zhao Ru, his heart aching. "Xun'er, don't be afraid. The little person inside you is like your sister. It's okay." Wang Lin smiled at Zhao Ru, his smile filled with complicated emotions. "Really? Uncle, you're not lying to me." Zhao Ru's big eyes revealed a glimmer of innocence, pure, clean, and untainted. But beyond that, Wang Lin also saw deep affection and trust in her gaze. "Really?" Wang Lin's internal pain grew heavier with each passing moment. He knew what choice he should make, but sometimes, in this world, choosing one thing means abandoning another life. Why is this happening? Wang Lin's eyes reflected pain. Though Zhao Ru was young, her heart was very sensitive. She looked at Wang Lin, buried her head in his chest, and softly said, "Uncle, don't be sad. Xun'er feels bad when she sees you sad. From now on, I won't speak about it. I believe you. If you say it's okay, then it's okay. Uncle, let's not talk about this anymore. Didn't you promise Xun'er you would catch a big tiger?" Wang Lin nodded, wiping away her tears, and whispered, "Uncle will take you to catch a big tiger." With that, he picked up Zhao Ru and leaped into the air. Zhao Ru's face lit up with a smile, but to Wang Lin, it felt like a silent cry. "Uncle, bring Xiaobai too." "Humph, Xiaobai doesn't listen. This time, Uncle, catch a big tiger and let's see if Xiaobai listens after this. If not, I'll have the big tiger bite him." Xiaobai shuddered, letting out a mournful howl, thinking angrily, the mighty tiger spirit." Before he could finish his thought, Wang Lin grabbed him from the air, and in a flash, he, Zhao Ru, and Wang Lin disappeared from the spot. "Uncle, Xun'er is already 13. There are some things I understand. You're not like Grandpa Taiyan. When you look at Xun'er, I can feel that you're not looking at me, but at the little person inside me. Grandpa Taiyan isn't like that. He looks at me. I know, when you took me from that bad Taoist, it wasn't because of me, but because of the little sister inside me. The big sister I saw in my dreams is very pretty, but when I grow up, Zhao Ru will be even prettier than her. Uncle, please don't leave me. In midair, Zhao Ru's eyes stayed fixed on Wang Lin. She held back her tears, silently thinking to herself. After all, cultivators who can break through the heavenly wind and step into the starry sky are few and far between. At the very least, they need to be at the infant metamorphosis stage or above, and they must have a star compass. Otherwise, in the vastness of the starry sky, they will find it impossible to move an inch. Wang Lin, accompanied by Zhao Ru and Little White, soared through the moonstar skies, with mountains rushing past beneath them, causing Zhao Ru to frequently gasp in astonishment. In a forest to the north of Moonstar, Wang Lin caught a large tiger for Zhao Ru. The tiger's fur was entirely purple, its body 3 yards long, and it radiated a tremendous presence. What puzzled Wang Lin, however, was that this tiger's intelligence was not awakened. It was far less clever than Little White. Yet, inside its body was a strange force. With a roar, the surrounding sand and stone swirled, and with a single swipe, it could break through metal and stone, comparable to a typical cultivator at the late foundation establishment stage. Dealing with this tiger was easy for Wang Lin. He marked its soul with Zhao Ru's imprint, ensuring it wouldn't bite its master, and then gave it to Zhao Ru. Zhao Ru immediately developed a fondness for the tiger, elevating it to the same level as Little White. From now on, your name is Little Purple. Zhao Ru clapped her hands, sitting on Little Purple's back, beaming with joy. Little White, standing nearby, lowered its head with disdain, thinking to itself, I'm a dignified tiger spirit. How can I be compared to this big, silly creature? With that thought, it lazily gave the purple tiger a loud growl. Unexpectedly, Little Purple immediately shook its large head and roared back at Little White, the sound reverberating with such force it seemed to shake the heavens and earth. Little White yelped, its fur standing on end, and its body instinctively backed up several paces. It stared at the purple tiger with wide, frightened eyes, no longer daring to approach. Zhao Ru clapped her hands, laughing. Little White, you can't beat Little Purple. Wang Lin, watching Zhao Ru's happy expression, fell silent. He didn't have much emotional attachment to her. If he had to describe it, it was more of a fatherly affection as he watched her grow over the years. The only one he truly cared about was Li Muan. The day Li Muan's nascent soul awakened would be the day Zhao Ru's soul was consumed. There was no possibility of coexistence between the two. If Li Muan's nascent soul were removed ahead of time, it would save Zhao Ru, but Li Muan would inevitably die. After all, Li Muan's nascent soul was still sleeping and recovering. If taken out before her awakening, it would immediately dissipate into the heavens. In Wang Lin's heart, he knew exactly which mattered more, and there was no uncertainty about it. However, for the sake of his own desires, to restore Li Muan's nascent soul and sacrifice this child, this was a thought that made him struggle. Though he had killed countless people in his life, every time he did, he asked himself whether he had acted justly, whether he had lived up to his conscience, whether he had answered to heaven and earth. Though he was a demon, he was not the kind without humanity. The seasons passed, and in the blink of an eye, 2 years had gone by. Zhao Ru was now 15 years old, and there were only 4 years left before Li Muan would awaken. Over the past 2 years, Zhao Ru's body had gradually matured, blossoming into a graceful young woman. In her dreams, Li Muan appeared more frequently. During these 2 years, Wang Lin spent his time meditating, and the bitterness in his heart grew more intense. Choosing Li Muan was inevitable, but how could he ensure Li Muan's nascent soul was preserved without harming this child? That had been his dilemma over the past 2 years. Zhao Ru's words had gradually become fewer during this time. She often sat alone on Little Purple's back, with Little White following behind, staring vacantly at the sky. Little White, my sister inside me is slowly awakening. I can feel it. When she completely wakes up, I'll leave. After I go, Little White, you must be obedient. I'll ask Uncle to send you back to the mountains. Little White, will you miss me? Zhao Ru murmured softly. Little White looked up at Zhao Ru, its tiger eyes showing a complicated expression. Over the years, though Zhao Ru had often teased it, Little White could feel that Zhao Ru deeply cared for it. Sometimes, when it was bullied by Little Purple, Zhao Ru would step in, teaching Little Purple a lesson. It had seen it all. Though Little White was a tiger spirit, it now felt a bit bitter. It looked at Zhao Ru, its large head nodding. Zhao Ru smiled faintly, jumping off Little Purple's back and walking over to Little White. She petted its fur and whispered, "Little White, do you think Uncle will miss me when I'm gone?" Little White let out a low growl, looking at Zhao Ru. Zhao Ru stroked its fur, her expression somewhat distant. She looked up at the figure sitting cross-legged on the distant mountaintop and quietly thought, "Uncle, I figured it out. Every time you look at me, you're really looking at my sister inside me, not me. I know she must be very important to you. I understand what I need to do." Tears welled up in Zhao Ru's eyes. She glanced at the silly little purple beside her and chuckled softly, "Little purple, when I leave, you'll be free." Wang Lin sat cross-legged at the peak of the mountain, seemingly meditating, but in reality, he was staring at the sky. Heavenly Tao. I, Wang Lin, defied the heavenly Tao, but in the end, I was still played with by it. Wang Lin muttered in silence. Uncle, can you come down?" A voice called from below, "Zhao Ru." Wang Lin looked down at Zhao Ru, a complex expression flashing in his eyes. He stood up and leaped down, landing beside her. "Uncle, sit down. Little Ru wants to comb your hair." Zhao Ru smiled innocently, holding a wooden comb, a gift from Tai Yin all those years ago. Without waiting for Wang Lin to speak, she pulled him toward a large stone, made him sit down, and stood behind him, carefully combing his hair. Her expression was serious, and after a while, she softly spoke. "Uncle, could you tell Little Ru about your story with sister?" Wang Lin remained silent for a long time, but eventually nodded. A story began to spill from his mouth, landing in Zhao Ru's ears. Her small hands continued to comb Wang Lin's hair as she listened, occasionally shuddering as if coming to some realization. "Uncle, if I die early, will Sister Wano not wake up?" Zhao Ru put the comb down and whispered. Wang Lin turned to face her, his eyes showing a trace of unfamiliarity. Zhao Ru looked up at him, her eyes filled with sadness, and softly said, "Uncle, do you see me as nothing more than a body for Sister Wano to wake up in? From childhood until now, I've always thought of you as my family, my uncle. I want you to look at me, not as you look at Sister, but as the real me, even if it's just once." Wang Lin stared at Zhao Ru for a moment, then fell silent. After a long pause, he softly said, "Little Ru, you're tired. Go rest." He turned and, with a single step, disappeared from sight. The wooden comb in Zhao Ru's hand fell to the ground. She crouched down, crying. 2 streams of tears flowed from the corners of her eyes. "Uncle, I'm scared," Zhao Ru whispered through her sobs. Wang Lin's figure appeared in the distance, trembling slightly. The complexity in his eyes deepened. "Xun'er, if it were you, what would you choose?" Little White had disappeared. Its disappearance was silent, but Wang Lin saw that it had quietly left the mountain one deep night, walking far away. Zhao Ru was deeply saddened by Little White's departure, falling seriously ill. In her sleep, she often murmured, calling for Little White. In Zhao Ru's young heart, though she often bullied Little White, her affection for it was immense. Even after Little Purple came along, she still held Little White in the highest regard. Little White was her friend, her only friend. However, when Wang Lin sought to bring Little White back, Zhao Ru stopped him. She looked at him with pleading eyes and softly said, "Little White chose to leave on its own. It should have the right to choose." "Uncle, it's happier than Little Ru. It still has choices. Don't go after it anymore." Wang Lin's heart ached. He sighed deeply and silently walked away, his mind already formulating a plan for how to resolve things in 4 years. "Uncle doesn't want me anymore, and Little White, you're leaving me too." A month later, Zhao Ru's illness was cured, but she became even more silent, often gazing off into the distance, lost in thought. 2 months later, on a morning, a tired but excited howl echoed from afar. Soon, Little White's figure appeared in Zhao Ru's line of sight. With a few leaps, it reached her side. In its mouth was a fiery red branch, bearing a fruit. Little White had returned. Zhao Ru looked at Little White, tears of joy streaming down her face. "Little White, you didn't leave me, Little White." Zhao Ru hugged Little White, her tears flowing as she smiled happily. Little White had grown thin, its fur torn and marked with scratches. It no longer exuded the same strength but was filled with exhaustion. Even beneath its belly, there was a deep wound. Though it had scabbed over, fresh blood still seeped out, staining its fur. Little White placed the branch it had been holding on the ground, then licked Zhao Ru with its tongue. It shook its head, cautiously surveying the surroundings. Once it confirmed Wang Lin was not near, it tugged at Zhao Ru's clothes and nudged the fruit on the ground with its paw. "Little White, what's this?" Zhao Ru was startled and picked up the fruit from the ground. Little White looked around again, a sense of urgency on its face, growling repeatedly, signaling Zhao Ru to eat it quickly. "Little White, do you want me to eat this?" Zhao Ru had spent enough time with Little White to understand its intent immediately. Little White nodded repeatedly, its eyes filled with anxious urging. Zhao Ru held the fruit, glanced at it, and softly said, "Little White, what kind of fruit is this?" "This is the shattered nascent soul fruit." Wang Lin's voice came from afar. Little White's fur bristled instantly as it positioned itself in front of Zhao Ru, its gaze fixed on the distance as it growled lowly. Volume 5, The Crystal of Star Cultivation. "What a protective tiger spirit." Wang Lin glanced at Little White. Little White's eyes showed a hint of fear, yet it still bared its teeth and growled, guarding Zhao Ru. With its cultivation, it had already discerned the presence of a nascent soul within Zhao Ru. This nascent soul was the very source of the fear it once felt. "Uncle, what is the shattered nascent soul fruit?" Zhao Ru gently stroked Little White's fur and asked in a soft voice. "If you consume this shattered nascent soul fruit, your wanderer inside will not die, but she will become extremely weak." Wang Lin said slowly. Zhao Ru was taken aback, looking down at Little White. She whispered, "Little White, so these past few months, you've been looking for this fruit for me." She sighed, and with a flick of her hand, the fruit rolled aside and fell into the ravine. "Uncle, please don't hurt Little White, okay?" Zhao Ru raised her head and looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin looked at her and nodded before turning to leave. Zhao Ru bit her lower lip, gazing at Wang Lin's retreating figure. That figure felt so unfamiliar. "Uncle, don't worry. Little Ru knows what to do. I will reunite you with Sister Xun'er," Zhao Ru called out loudly. Wang Lin paused, falling silent for a moment, before continuing his journey into the distance. Time passed quickly, 2 more years of spring and autumn. On this day, in the immortal ruins at the edge of the Chu Kingdom on Vermilion Bird Star, a thick black mist suddenly emanated from the massive pit. The mist rose continuously, soon reaching the sky. As the black mist swirled, it transformed into a strange plant, pitch black, with countless enormous leaves, each inscribed with runes, emanating a mysterious aura. At that moment, a golden giant net appeared from the sky, upon which 5 sword shadows flickered, their brightness alternating in a dizzying pattern. As soon as the golden net appeared, it immediately covered the ever-growing plant, and with a series of thunderous sounds, it forced the plant down. "Our clan is hidden for tens of thousands of years. Today, no one can stop us from resurrecting the runestar." A hoarse voice echoed from deep within the immortal ruins, and an ancient-looking elder stepped out from the pit. The elder's body had no runic marks, but at the center of his brow, a faint image of a plant flickered. Upon closer inspection, the plant had 11 leaves. No. Looking more carefully, beneath these 11 leaves, there was even one more leaf. Although it had not fully opened, about a third of it had already unfurled. As the elder stepped out of the pit, the 5 flying swords above the golden net let out a deafening clang, and 2 of them flashed away, shooting towards the elder. The elder remained calm, softly saying, "The first Vermilion Bird Patriarch of the Vermilion Bird Kingdom sacrificed himself, using the lives of 9 mid-transcendence cultivators to forge these 5 sealing swords and imprison my immortal remnant clan for tens of thousands of years. Today, I too can sacrifice myself, so that my immortal remnant clan may return to the world. Absorb." He raised his right hand, and a rune appeared in the air, radiating an ancient, primal energy that spread outward. The 2 flying swords trembled in flight and suddenly struggled, breaking free from the rune's power and swiftly retreating. "Return." The elder's gaze was serene, radiating enlightenment. He summoned them with a wave of his right hand, and a thundering roar filled the sky. Countless runes appeared, intertwining as if they were creating the world itself. The 2 flying swords' struggles instantly ceased and were drawn back with lightning speed. Bang! Bang! 2 resounding thuds reverberated across the entire Vermilion Bird Star. The 2 swords stabbed into the elder's chest, vibrating and attempting to break free, but they could not. In the war of that year, I was but a coward, powerless to save anyone, watching countless clan members die. Though my body remained, my heart had already died. The elder pointed at the golden net in the sky. Immediately, 2 more flying swords hurtled toward him. Despite their desperate struggles, they could not break free and were pulled toward him, plunging into his body once again. For tens of thousands of years, I should have died long ago. But my clansmen revered me as an ancestor, offering me life runes every year, allowing me to devour them. For tens of thousands of years, countless of my people have died in my mouth. I am a sinner of my clan. The elder gazed at the last flying sword on the golden net, took a deep breath, and stretched out his arms, drawing it toward him. However, with all its might, it could not break free, and finally, with a thunderous crack, it shot out from the golden net like lightning, piercing toward the elder. I am a sinner of the immortal remnant clan, destined to die. Today, I have broken through to the 11th leaf, and the 12th leaf has begun to unfurl. I have reached the level beyond those cultivators reaching the summit, but my talent is limited. I cannot absorb all the runes, and I cannot truly take that final step. I have failed my ancestors and the countless clansmen who have fed me to sustain my life. The final flying sword, accompanied by a sharp, resounding hum, streaked through the air. At the elder's signal, the sword flashed and immediately pierced his brow. The light in his eyes gradually dimmed. I am a sinner, but my death will bring the return of my people to the land. Let my body, in place of the immortal remnant tree, be sealed by these 5 swords. I offer my soul as a sacrifice. My people shall rise again. In the moment before his eyes completely faded, the elder's hands tore violently at the sky. A massive sound reverberated throughout the entire vermilion bird star. Suddenly, the golden net seemed to be torn apart by an invisible force, splitting in 2. The enormous plant formed from black mist immediately surged out of the golden net, rising quickly until it became a pillar that supported the heavens and the earth. At the same time, countless runes exploded outward, vanishing into the vast expanse of the world. The elder's body slowly merged into the massive plant, disappearing without a trace. At this moment, one by one, the immortal remnant clan members flew out from the deep pit. Gradually, more and more of them appeared, each of them bowing deeply to the great plant. Among these immortal remnant clan members was a woman, her face veiled in purple gauze, her gaze calm. I hope you are not deceiving me. I want that Qian Feng to have no place to be buried. 100 miles away from this place, a tall man wearing a straw hat stared at the towering plant reaching into the sky, murmuring to himself, I hope you're not deceiving me. I want the 4-sect alliance to rise again on this land. Kill. A deafening roar erupted from the immortal remnant land. This roar was not from a single person, but from the combined cries of countless immortal remnant clan members, shaking the heavens and spreading across the land. At that moment, at the peak of Vermilion Bird Mountain in the Vermilion Bird Kingdom, where the Vermilion Bird Patriarch was in seclusion, a furious roar suddenly rang out. Following that, the cave mansion at the summit, where he was meditating, exploded in a crash, turning to ash. Dressed in red robes, the Vermilion Bird Patriarch appeared in the void. His gaze was fierce as he stared towards the immortal remnant land, his face dark and grim. Immortal remnants, are you seeking death? The Vermilion Bird Patriarch raised his right hand, and immediately, the clouds in the sky seemed to be drawn in and condensed into his grasp. In an instant, a white token formed from clouds appeared in his hand. He slapped it with his left hand, and the token split from 1 into 2, then from 2 into 4, endlessly multiplying. By the order of the 14th generation Vermilion Bird Patriarch, I command all the cultivation nations of Vermilion Bird Star to engage in the second war against the immortal remnant clan. The cloud tokens immediately vanished, and at the same time, in the depths of the heavenly jade sect's forbidden grounds in Vermilion Bird Kingdom, an elderly man with snow-white hair emerged from his long seclusion. He wore a black robe, his body skeletal and frail, but his eyes glowed with a strange light. He looked towards the immortal remnant land, shaking his head slightly as he whispered, the heavens are about to change. This elderly man was none other than Chu Yunfei, the primordial ancestor of the heavenly jade sect, revered by all his disciples. In the Earth Soul sect, located in the western part of Vermilion Bird Kingdom, deep within the underground of the sect, a middle-aged man sat in a cave mansion. Suddenly, the man opened his eyes, revealing a profound weariness. He sighed, this day has finally arrived, but I never expected to witness it. Sigh. The last sect of Vermilion Bird Kingdom, the human path immortal. At this moment, everything seemed calm, but the sect's mysterious primordial ancestor remained hidden from all, with only a handful of people knowing his whereabouts or appearance. In Pillow Kingdom, within the soul-refining sect, Dun Tian, who was in seclusion, opened his eyes. A cold smile appeared on his lips before he closed his eyes again, resuming his meditation. The calamity in Vermilion Bird Star had no connection with Wang Lin at this moment. His focus was entirely on preparing for the second confrontation against the Heavenly Tao, ensuring that Li Muan's nascent soul would successfully emerge. In 2 years' time, Li Muan would awaken. During these 2 years, Zhao Ru had been silent for most of the time. It seemed that a deep rift had formed between her and Wang Lin. From Zhao Ru's body, Wang Lin could sense that Li Muan's nascent soul was slowly awakening, while Zhao Ru's vitality gradually faded. When her vitality was completely gone, it would mean that Li Muan had fully devoured Zhao Ru's soul. However, Li Muan's nascent soul had slowed its growth in the past year, as though it was unwilling to grow further, unwilling to devour Zhao Ru's soul. Wang Lin knew that this was because Li Muan had regained some of her consciousness. She knew everything, and she did not want to sacrifice a child for her own awakening. This was her choice, but not Wang Lin's. He used his own spiritual energy to stop this process, ensuring that Li Muan's nascent soul continued to grow. Wana, I know you don't want to consume this child. Trust me, I will handle it well. I won't harm her. After you awaken, we'll send her back to her parents. What I need is your nascent soul, not this child's body. This is Wang Lin's promise to Li Muan.